to his credit, he gets up and fights through it and goes out there and plays, but he is not a healthy person right now.
I've never met an athlete that would play with pain the way he does, and an athlete that's so highly self-motivated as Larry Bird.
I think 4 or 5 years you'll think back about what he did, or you'll just, you'll go that. I think it's one of those things that as the years go by, it'll become bigger and bigger and bigger.
Larry Bird is known for many heroic performances throughout his illustrious NBA career, but none may have been more moving and more impressive than his little-known performance that he had in the 1991 NBA playoffs. It was the first round, as Bird's Celtics were up against the tenacious and young Indiana Pacers, who were led by their star tandem of Chuck Person and Reggie Miller. Although the Celtics were the favorites in the series, doubt was starting to creep in, as their age and wear and tear were beginning to show. For years at this point, Bird had been dealing with chronic back pain, and now the difficulties of playing through it were reaching an all-time high, as the 34-year-old had missed time earlier that year with a ruptured nerve disc in his back. Rumors of his eventual retirement were swirling around the organization, and to make matters worse, the pressure was building as the series went on. In a best-of-5 series, the Celtics and Pacers were tied at 2 games apiece heading into the deciding 5th game in Boston. Indiana came out like they were ready to steal this series, as Chuck Person was absolutely on fire from the perimeter, and his supreme confidence was on display as he was letting the Boston Garden crowd hear about it. Despite playing through intense pain and dealing with an extremely hot opponent, Bird managed to keep the game close. But with just over 4 minutes left in the second quarter, disaster struck. While diving after a loose ball, Bird's face had made brutal contact with the hardwood floor. The Garden went quiet as he laid on the ground, temporarily losing consciousness. After taking a while to get up, he went to the locker room, where the medical staff discovered that not only had he broke his face with a fractured cheekbone, but he had also suffered a concussion. To the Boston faithful, it appeared as if they were witnessing the end of Larry Bird's career right before their very eyes. To make matters even worse, Chuck Person continued to heat up, as he was now hitting absurd shots without any hesitation. In an interview with Larry Bird in 2004, he said, "When I hit the floor, I couldn't move my mouth. I was in a lot of pain, but I could hear the crowd out there, and I thought, I can't leave those guys out there by themselves." The team doctor told Larry that under no circumstances should he go back out there on the court, due to the damage to his back, his face, and his brain.
Start to third, no Larry. Couple minutes go by, no Larry. We're looking at one another like, we got a chance.
We're going to do this. We're going to beat the Celtics
in the Garden. No one ever beat the Celtics in the Garden. Well, the doctor says you had enough. You can't go back out there. Enough's enough, Larry. Come on back and this. And I looked up there and the crowd was, oh, you hear it in there, It wasn't going on good. I said, what's the score out there? I said, we're down. I went to the doc. I said, I got to try this.
Much of the energy and enthusiasm had been sucked out of the building, and midway through the third quarter, when the momentum was now completely on the side of the Pacers, Larry Bird suddenly jogged out of the tunnel with his warm-up jacket on, sending the crowd into a frenzy.
And I go out there, and of course the crowd gets pumped up. 6:46, I remember it to this day, of the third quarter.
And here comes Larry Bird.
It felt like a train in the middle of old Boston. That's how loud it was. The crowd was so loud, and I remember looking at Chuck, and we said to ourselves, "You're in trouble." Oh,
That's what we said.
A sense of hope has suddenly surged through the stadium, as Larry looked as if he was prepared for battle. And what ensued was one of the most legendary endings to a playoff series. Bird was doing it all, from the facilitating to the clutch rebounding to the unstoppable scoring. On a personal note, I've never seen Larry Bird more physically and emotionally fired up than the way he was in this contest. The audience was collectively roaring with applause with every and one basket. None of this would come easy, as Bird was playing through a throbbing headache on the right side of his skull, and the Pacers were doing everything they could to make things more difficult, as they gave him this tough blow to his head, and then Chuck Person gave Bird this shot to his injured back. But it was to no avail. Larry Legend would not be denied, as he continued his onslaught. In just the final quarter and a half of play, Bird scored 17 points, had 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, which took his totals on the evening to 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists on 63% shooting from the field, as he led his Celtics to a 124-121 victory.
I've known Chuck for a while, and we've always had run-ins, but it always seems like I get the last word.
This may have not been the final game of Larry Bird's career, but it was his final iconic performance in the NBA playoffs. But even beyond that, this game is a symbol and a summary of what made this legendary player so special, as his competitiveness, toughness, and team leadership were all on display, as the Boston faithful got to enjoy one final thrill with their beloved icon.
Chuck works for me in the summer. He mows my yard. So I see him every day.
So what do you guys think? Is Larry Bird the toughest player in NBA history? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Shout out to the members for supporting the channel, and thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.